Okay, in this tutorial, we're gonna have some fun and make our character jump. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is make sure we've selected our actions layer and click in that first frame. We're gonna go Window, Actions. Okay, and the first thing we need to do is we need to add some abilities to our Animate program, which used to be known as Flash. That's why it says Flash there still. So we're gonna import certain kind of events, and these events are going to be known as keyboard. These are known as keyboard events. Okay, so we're going to say keyboard event. Okay, make sure everything's spelled correctly with the capital E, capital K. Okay, so now we have the ability to listen for keyboard events. Now I know that what we're going to want to do is we are going to want to use the space bar. So I'm copying and pasting this in from code I wrote off the side of the screen here, and it says stage.add event listener. We're adding a listener right to the stage where this whole game is happening, and then the keyboard event, which means key down. So when a key is pushed down, this function is going to happen. Now the function doesn't exist yet. I am about to write this function. Okay, so here we go. We are going to go down here and write this function. We're going to make the function called spacebar is pressed because that's the name of it right here. We could have named this anything we wanted, and that's what I named it. Okay, so we're going to say function spacebar is pressed, spacebar is pressed, and it's event. What type of event? It is a keyboard event. I forgot the D, keyboard event. Okay, and then we are going to make sure we have our parentheses and curly brackets, and we are going to say if keycode, event.keycode, let me make sure I'm spelling everything right, equals, and you have to really make sure that your capitalization is correct. So I know I'm going through this fast, but you have to make sure that event is lowercase here, K is lowercase here, then the C is capital, capital K, and then capitals all through space. Okay, now we're going to create a variable. Well, we're not creating the variable. I'm gonna write jumping is true because I'm going to create the jumping variable now. So when we push the keyboard, jumping is going to become true. Now we don't have a variable jumping yet, but that's what I'm going to create. We're going to say variable jumping. Well, when the game loads up, we want it to be equal to false to start. Okay, so we say variable jumping is false. But when we push the keyboard, the space bar, jumping is going to get set to true. Now nothing's going to happen yet. Just the computer is going to know that, oh, jumping is now true. So now what we want to do is we're going to create another event listener, and I'm going to put it right here. And I'm going to say add event listener, and this is going to look, I put it up here so it looks more similar to the one above it. It's going to, on every enter frame, every time Animate enters a frame, it's going to be listening for a function. I'm going to create this function in a moment. It's called hero jump. Okay, now in hero jump, there is going to be some things happening. Okay, so every frame that this 30 frames a second, it's going to listen for a function called hero jump. We're going to create that function now. Okay, so function hero jump. Okay, and then we need to declare that it's an event, capital event. Okay, and then here we go. So we're going to say if jumping. So now remember, we set this jumping variable to true when we click the space bar, and now we're going to say, okay, every frame that if it's jumping, something's going to happen. Now let's just mess with our hero's y coordinates. We're going to go hero's y is minus equals, and let's just say 1. Okay, now if I save this and test it, let's see what happens. Now let me get this actions out of the way. Control test. And let's push the space bar. And there he goes. 1 pixel at a time. He's going up, and he's infinitely going up. He's just going to keep rising forever. Okay, now, I just know pre-planning and having worked in this, worked on games before, we know that we don't want to just use this speed here. What if we want to like play around and change the speed? Let's, and we're going to need it for a more important reason in a second. We're going to set a jump speed as a variable, and we're going to set it to a higher number. I've tested off screen, and I think 20 is good. And so now instead of saying his y coordinate go up by 1, we can say go up by jump speed. Okay, and so it's going to happen a lot faster now. He's going to go up by 20 pixels every time a frame happens. Okay, and he's just going to still infinitely go up. So we have to make him come back down. Okay, now if his y is going to get minus, by the way, the coordinate systems for the y is getting smaller as it goes up. And I explained to students off camera that in Animate, the x and y coordinate starts in the top left. So they decided to say x gets bigger going right, and then y gets bigger going down as you get more surface of your screen, I suppose. Okay, so, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna change the jump speed right here. We're gonna change the jump speed by -1 or minus, yeah, by 1. We're gonna -1 from it every frame. So it starts at 20, then 19, 18, 70, and then it'll get all the way to 0. He won't go any higher. Then it'll turn negative, which will mean he comes back down. And so then we just say if his jump speed gets to a certain level, and I've worked this out off screen before. So if his jump screen is less than or equal to -21, okay, we have another if statement inside here, then jumping is going to turn into false. And what else? Jump speed, I'm going to reset it back to 20. And then we are also going to set the hero's y coordinate equal to the ground's y coordinate. So it looks like he doesn't go through the ground. Okay, let's test everything and see if this works. Okay, so here we go. Let's go Control Test. And I'm going to push the space bar. All right, great. And you'll see that it looks like he's floating when he lands, and that's just where my registration point is. Okay, this is kind of fun. I could click the space bar and he goes up and down. That's great. Okay, and if you take a look at the registration point of your character, let me take a look at him. Well, the plus sign is right there. I don't know if on the video you can see the plus sign, but it's right there. And then the plus sign for the ground or the registration point is there. So I might actually want to go into the character or the ground. It might be easier just to go into the ground. I can go into the ground, and perhaps I could raise the graphic of the ground a little bit higher than the registration point. And let me open up the toolbar to take a quick zoom in on that. So the registration point, the y coordinate is right there for the ground. And so now it might just, it just looks a little better. I think that it looks like he's actually touching the ground now. Okay, so good. We have our character jumping. Go ahead and have fun. I'm gonna go ahead and make the actions on the screen. So if you, make sure you click in this frame first. Window actions, and then I will leave these up here for you. So if you want to study that, you could freeze it there and make sure you get every capital letter correct. Okay, have fun making your character jump. Have fun.